Hi, welcome back to the second part of my video. In this video, I'm going to talk about this function display.h and then my test stats.cpp, which is my main.cpp file. So inside the function display one, I have the first display opening. Display opening function is display the notes that I want to give the users to read first. I will put this one in the front page of my program. Actually, I can implement it using IOF stream, but because IOF stream, I have some problem with taking out the data from the text file, so I just implement this one there, and I actually like the design. So I mean, like, if you are using text file, it's a bit plain, so I actually like this design more. So yeah, this is why I'm implement the display opening. Second one is display checking population or sample. This one, actually, all of the functions here, they are of character return type, and then all of the functions here, they are actually only the checking functions. They check whether the user's input are the users only entering the reply as stated by the sentence here. Like, for example, if they ask you to input 1 for population, 2 for sample, this function is just to make sure that the users only input 1 or 2 as their reply. So if they input anything other than these two replies, then this error message will pop out. Okay, so this one is also a check, the function used to check the user's input. The third function is also the same, checking petty test, whether is it a petty test or is it not. So the answer is only 0 or 1. If not, then this message will pop out. This function is also the same. Are there any raw data values to be calculated? Yeah, 1 or 0. This one, is it a proportion test, N or Y? This is actually, when I'm writing this code, I want to make sure that my users don't simply key in any data. So sometimes I put it 1 and 0, sometimes I put it 1 and 2, sometimes I put it Y and N. It's just to make sure that the users actually read the instruction first before they key in the data. So yeah, so this one is checking, is it a proportion test? The answer should be either Y or N. Other answers will be rejected, and then this message will pop out. So is it the proportion value given, 1 or 0? Is it a T or Z test? This one is in case proportion, is in one sample test, and case 2. When like I said in my previous video, if the sample size is lesser than 30 for case 2, it will automatically go to case 3, which is it will use a t-test. However, if it is between 30 and 40, the users can actually choose whether they want to use the z-test or they want to use the t-test. So I'll give them this freedom for them to choose either using z-test or t-test. The answer will be slightly different because if the sample size is a bit smaller, using t-test will be more accurate. But if the data is more than 30, but then the user still insists on using t-test, the answer might be a bit not accurate, but it won't differ so much from the original value. So this is a function to ask whether the users they want to use z-test or t-test. Display warning z-test. If the size is greater than 40, I recommend that the user will only use z-test. So I want them to only use z-test because if they continue using t-test, the answer will be very inaccurate. So yeah, this one is to show them the warning. They must use z-test. And this one is in the front page, the first page. They will check whether is it a single sample or double sample. Because if you choose a single sample, all the functions will be different than the double sample function. All this checking, reusing, like this one is the one where I'm implementing with my do while loop. This is to make sure, this is to ask the user whether do they want to use this calculator again or they want to just quit the program. This one is display color. Yeah, I actually implemented color in my system, so I want to make sure that they are okay with the color. The default color is blue, yellow, and white. I think it's white. But if they don't want the yellow color, like because some of the users, they might think that yellow color is a bit bright, so they want everything to be plain white color, so they can actually change their color at the starting of the program. So these functions give them the freedom to choose which color they want. And this one is the void go to xy, which is the coordinate inside the program, but I don't think I'm using this anymore. Yeah. So, sorry, I'm just going to delete this, and then I'm going to delete this code. Okay. So, yeah. So I come here. This is my main.cpp file, the test file, where I'll run the code and then test the code using some of the samples that I've got from textbook. Okay, before starting, let me introduce the libraries that I've used. I included IOStream to use the cout and cin function, IOMan-if for this line to set precision, fix, show point, include new. New is for dynamic memory allocation for the try catch and bad allocation. Windows.h Windows.h is for the set console text attribute to set color to the text. Include fstream is to include the notes that I have written in the text file. And cases, include cases. This one is the file for the confidence interval for one sample. Display two samples.h is for the two sample, and display function is for the checking functions that I have just talked about just now. So before this, let me drink some water first. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Okay, now this is my code. The first line is to set precision. The second line is to use if ifstream, input stream, and this one is the name, the variable, and then this one is the readme string attribute, and then these are my primitive data type, and this one is to set the color. This one is just to ask the users, are they satisfied with the color. And then, yeah, this one is to check whether they want to change the color or they don't want to change the color. So if they choose to change the color, then they will put no. They will put 0. Are you okay with the color setting? 1 for yes, 0 for no. So if they put no, then they will. I'll let them have a chance to change to the color that they want. So this for loop will talk about. They will display 15 different text color, and then the users can choose which colors they want. Okay, so after changing the color, I will clear the page, and then the readme text file will be red, and then the things inside the text file will be displayed onto the console, and then everything will be set to the color X. By default, X is 11, which is white color if I'm not mistaken. So, but if the users don't want the color, then yeah, they will change the color here. So, okay, this one is IF input file.open, and then I close the file after finish reading the readme.txt. So if there's an error, then error message, error opening the file will be displayed. And then if everything's done, then we'll start with our first, our real program, which is inside the do while loop. So this one is the color setting. This one is the display opening, which is the functions that I mentioned just now, display opening. And then this one is the character, which they will, the reply that the user had replied will be assigned to sample value, assigning it to sample. And then if sample is 1 is for single, 2 is for double sample or single sample. If it is a single sample, then all this if loop will be called, and if not, it will go to this one. And this one is just for error in case like I don't know how suddenly maybe the user entered like 2.5 or something, which just miraculously bypass my checking function. So this one will be displayed, but usually it won't be displayed because this loop has already forbid other reply other than 1 or 2 to be passed through to sample. So let's start with sample 1. Okay, sample 1. Inside sample 1 sample, if they will ask, is it a population or is it a case 2, case 3? If it is a case 1, then all this case 1 will be displayed. Inside case 1, I'm using the base class statistics and then the derived class case 1. I'm using it dynamically DMA, which you can see through this keyword new. And then this is casting, dynamic casting. So by casting, I can actually use the derived class functions here from this line to this line. And yeah, if they have a data that wants to be calculated, then the system will show this. And if not, if they already have the calculated value such as mean or variance, then this one will be implemented. And if there is reply other than this error message will be will be shown. Okay, this is for population case. And if it is a sample case, case 2 or case 3, they will first ask, is it a proportion test? If you answer yes, then yeah, this one is for proportion, this one is a pointer, this one is the base class, this one is the DMA thing, this one is dynamic casting. The fundamental things are almost the same. You have a base class pointer pointing to the derived class object, which is implemented through the keyword new, so that it is using DMA. And then I will cast it from I will cast the base pointer into the derived pointer so that they can use the derived class function. And all of these are based on the user's reply. All of these are based on user's reply. And then yeah, if it answers yes, then this one will be shown. If it is not a proportion test, then they will go to another loop, and then they will ask, is it they will check what is the size of your data. They will ask you to input the size, and then if your size is greater than 30, they will tell you that we will proceed with Z test. Do you want to proceed with Z test or you want to proceed with T test? And then you give your reply. But then if your sample is greater than 40, then there is no way for you to proceed with T test. The system will force you to choose to proceed with Z test only. This is to preserve the confidence interval that is calculated will be more accurate. So yeah, this is statement, and then you choose it, and then yeah, it's like get data. It's the same thing because I'm still using the same function, display checking assistant of raw data. And then if you have any raw data for it to calculate, the system will calculate for you. So these are the same functions. And then if you choose that you want to proceed with t-test, then everything will be changed to t-test, will be changed to case3. Case3 pointer will be initialized here and then assigned to a derived class object, and then casting will be initiated in line 201, and then the size, because before this all of these are using case2 object, so now they return the size from case2 into case3. So this is a function of change size. You can change the size, and then everything will be made available for S3, which is the pointer for base class pointing at case3 object. And functions are still the same. Get data. Do you have data or do you not have data? Do you want us to calculate or you don't want us to calculate? Everything will be here. So basically this is the sample, and yeah, that's it. That's it for sample equals to 1. So now we'll show sample equals to 2, which is the 2 sample data. 2 sample data. First of all, the same thing. We'll be implementing a base pointer pointing to a derived class object, implemented with the new keyword, which is DMA, and then dynamic casting, so that I can use derived class object. And then because 2 sample, the characteristic of 2 sample is that they have 2 samples data to be recorded. So I need to call for the first one and then call to get the size of the second one. And then yeah, this is the one that I told you all just now. This one is a paired t-test. This one is the paired t-test. Yup. Raw data. So they'll just calculate everything here. You just calculate everything here. Enter data number 1. And then you enter everything. And then they will just give a space for data 2. And then you enter into data 2. And then they'll calculate the data difference first here. They'll calculate the difference in both of the data. And then it will store in an array. And then we'll pass the array to using the class member functions, and then it will be stored inside the pointer inside the class here. We will store inside. It will be stored inside here. Data value difference. Okay. So yeah, this is it. This is for the paired t-test. Like I didn't mention it here. It will be asked first whether do you want to check whether is it paired t-test. If it is a paired t-test, then everything from just now will be shown. If it is not a paired t-test, then they will just move it on like normal. They'll ask you, is it a population one or is it a sample case? If it is a population data, then you'll just input 1. If it is not, then you'll just input 2. And then others are the same as the one inside one sample. You need to get mean, get variance, asking whether do you have raw data, anything. The only difference is that in 2 samples, everything is doubled. Get data, in one sample you only have 1 get data, but in 2 samples you have 1 and 2. Mean you have 1 and 2. Variance you have 1 and 2. That's the difference. And then inputting mean value, you have to input twice. Variance you have to input twice. And other functions are almost the same. It's just that you need to do your work twice. And yeah, basically that's all. This one is raw. Raw data equals to 0. That means you don't have any raw data. And then in case it is not a population one, it's a survey, it's a sample test, then you choose 2, and then they'll ask you whether is it proportion test. You choose yes for y for yes, and then n for no, and then yeah, the only different thing is that in one sample, if the sample size is smaller than 30, it is considered case-free. They will use t-test. But in two sample, if both of the samples are smaller than 25, then it is considered case-free. So if both of the samples are smaller than 25, it will automatically go into case-free. And if it is more than 25, it will remain in case 2. Yeah, this one. If it is more than 25, this one is case 2. And else, if it is smaller than 25, it will be in case 3. Yeah. And then else, if one is smaller than 25 and one is larger than 25, I'm sorry, but with my current knowledge, I'm not too sure how to calculate this kind of data. So yeah, maybe a few years later when I learn how to calculate one is smaller than 25, one is larger than 25, maybe next time I'll improve on this calculator. So for the time being, you're gonna make sure that your data value is consistent. It's either both smaller than 25 or both greater than 25. And then, yeah, basically that's all. One sample and two sample. Lastly, when it wants to exit the do loop, this one will be shown. Display checking reusing. It will ask, do you still want to use the calculator? If you choose 1, that means you want to use it. If you choose 0, that means you are not going to use it anymore. So if it is not equal to 0, the loop will keep on going on. It will keep on looping, so you can continue to use the calculator until you choose 0 at the final stage, and then you just exit the loop, and then you can exit the system.